All right, welcome to Taste This TV. Now, today we're going to get started on a great show. We have two incredible people. We're going to be talking about some healthy food because, let's face it, what you're finding in the stores today, right, plastic and food and stuff like that. We brought on Patricia, who's not only a nutritionalist, is that such a thing?
Nutrition coach.
Nutrition coach, but she's also an award-winning actress who fights for plant-based food and really has some great recipes. We have Rob Arneson, who is definitely no stranger to the screen. 64 movies to his credit. Going to be talking a little bit about craft services, healthy food on set. Who's ever heard of that, right? Everybody knows you're on set with craft services, depending on what studio you're in. It's going to be a fight to get some healthy food. So thanks for coming on the podcast today. So I guess let's jump in. I mean, what does healthy food mean? I mean, what's going on with this world where not only is it over-communicated and sending subliminal messages, especially to kids, about crappy food, you know, it's really poison. I mean, what's going on with this industry? I mean, where do you see it going?
Well, you see a lot of trends have been set lately with food. And the quicker the food is to make and prepare is the way it's going. And the more nutrition they're putting in these prepared foods is really the way of the future. Basically, what's easier today, due to the economics of this country, people have to work harder. And by working harder, it means less time at home. So today, I think the trend is prepared foods, more so than ever. Get that
99-cent dollar menu. You're not going into that, are you?
Well, I mean, I'm going even deeper, too. You know, I think to expand upon your point, when you look at the history of the food industry, right, everything is about production, and it's, you know, it's the cost and the profits. And so what happened is, you know, years ago, in the food industry, things were prepared in a more whole way, but that's not economical. So when you look at the business of food and to the turnover for production, you know, they're going to find a way to grow things bigger and quicker, right? And then when they're processing, it's anything that is least costly, so the profits go up. And what happens is they're selling that all to us, you know, through pretty packaging and through lifestyle ideas. But the truth of the matter is if you turn over any package in the food store and you see something that presents as a food like, for instance, simple tomatoes, you know, a crushed tomato.
They could screw that up?
Oh, yeah. You know, when you look at ingredients and you see things that you don't know how to, you know, pronounce that word, I would take a pause.
Even in a can of tomatoes, I mean, what's this world coming to? Right then, they have like chloride and like to retain the color. I love it when you look on the back of a box or the front of it, made with real cheese. Well, what the hell else is it supposed to be made out of?
Right.
Exactly.
Made with real milk. What else are you putting in there? I mean, exactly. I think we've all just gotten so used to shopping stupidly, you know, and
there aren't any other healthy alternatives. And if you look at the healthy alternatives, you know, it's very costly to go buy something that maybe is organic or it's a whole food, right? So, you know, people, to your point, are budgeting, right, to really feed their families. But if, again, looking at the money, like I always like to follow the money, right? So let's talk about the health industry. Let's talk about the fact that 42% of Americans are either obese or overweight in this country. Let's talk about the percentage of people that are living with type 2 diabetes. Let's talk about the people that are living with high blood pressure. All of these diseases are preventable through diet and nutrition. And so, you know, there are studies out there, and I say to everybody, get yourself educated when it comes to your food and what you're eating. There's something called blue zones, and they're pockets of people in 8 different areas of the world where we have the most centenarians. And they are healthy, and they're eating basically plant-based. They're preparing the foods at home, not processed, and they're healthy, and they are void of these diseases for the most part. You know, the thing about it is our relationship with food is very intimate. I mean, think about it. You know, from the minute that we're born, we are fed and you know, receiving nutrition daily. So what are we doing to our bodies, to our digestive systems, to, you know, with the inflammation that maybe takes place sometimes?
Right, absolutely. What could a person do? Like I've heard it a million times. People tell me inflammation causes cancer, autoimmune diseases, stuff like that. I mean, what can someone do to stop that inflammation? Right? I mean, because the inflammation really is the cause of really a lot of illnesses.
A lot of illnesses. And if you take a disease like lupus, and I bring lupus up because it's considered the mother of all autoimmune diseases, and you can trace all the different...
Which is, let's say nobody knows about lupus. What is it?
So basically it's a disease, you know, that attacks all the systems in the body. So it can, you know, it presents in every patient differently. Just here on Long Island, there are about 25,000 people living with lupus alone. And they usually have like a partner disease that comes along with it. Right. Why do I bring up lupus? Because it's considered the mother of all autoimmune diseases.
So that's the queen bee right there. The
queen bee. Because it may present through diabetes, you know, with a partner disease of diabetes. It may attack your kidneys. It may attack your brain function. I mean, the list is long.
I mean, that disease has been around since like ancient days,
yes.
right? I mean, when they really didn't know what to do about it, they were like, you know, there was also a famous king, right? I mean, what was that king's name that he made the helmet out of metal? Nobody ever seen his face because it was so bad.
Right, because, and again, you know, look at our organs. Our skin is our largest organ. And, you know, not all lupus patients, but a lot present with what they call the rash, you know, and lupe is a form of the Latin word wolf. So that's where the name of the disease comes from.
Right.
Well, like thyroid.
Right.
The thyroid controls every single cell in your body, and there's billions of them. So that is something that a lot of people don't look at, is their thyroid. So there are a lot of people that have a thyroid condition.
So let's say we're driving up to our favorite takeout place, right? That you probably wouldn't catch me at, but you know, let's say you have a real crappy meal. Could that be a cause of inflammation? I mean, where do people start? I mean, yeah, okay, I want to change my diet. I'm inflamed. What can I do? Is a plant-based diet the way to go? Is a raw-based diet go? I mean, there are so many diets. People are like, what do I do? Do I do this? Do I do that? Do I do a watermelon diet, which is not recommended? But I mean, you know, where do people go to?
Well, if it tastes good, it's no good.
Is that what it says? Yeah. Yeah, food was yeah, that's right. You're absolutely
You don't put anything on anything, it'll taste like cardboard. So my theory about food is if it tastes really good, it's no good.
Yeah.
Because there's too many ingredients in there that are not good for you. Sugar in tomato sauce.
Yeah, well, we could talk about sugar all day long, right?
Yeah. So the interesting thing, and that's such a great point that you just made, the interesting thing about sugar being added to our food is this. You know, when we start eating all of these foods that are really unhealthy for us, our palates change. And when people go off of sugar or eliminate sugar from their diet, a lot of people go through, you know, like a couple of weeks of like what you would call like almost like a flu-like symptoms, where they're withdrawing. So you have to wonder, like something that, you know, I'm feeling
withdrawing from sugar.
Withdrawing from sugar.
Crazy.
And so what happens is once you get past that hump, I can assure you that when you start tasting whole foods, they will taste delicious. Your palate, your taste buds will change. And you will come back to your normal state. You know, I've been on every single diet in the world, like most people, right? I've tried everything. I can tell you that I'm not sitting here because there can be 5 or 6 different doctors or people that are saying, hey, you know what, this is better or that is better. What I can say to the layperson who's starting is this. Go into your own kitchen cabinet. Take a look at the foods that are in there. Look at the ingredients. If you've got multiple ingredients there and you don't know what those things mean, throw it out. Throw it out. Yeah. Start over.
Now, do you slip? What about the holidays? I mean,
so
you're an avid cook, a chef. I mean, don't you want the fried strufel balls?
I am, and so I agree. You know, like you listen. I I enjoy life, but because I basically eat plant-based and I'm a creative cook, I don't miss anything. Like I told you before, I have a plant-based bolognese sauce that would knock anybody's socks off. And, the base of that is basically eggplant and soaked chopped walnuts. And you think, wait, but it tastes so good. And when your palates change, if you eat those kinds of foods, you almost don't want them. So follow them.
Well, the most addictive thing in the world is
What?
sugar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
world.
So it doesn't sound like, from years of me doing this, talking to people like Jamie Oliver who have been advocating, it doesn't look like the government has got their best interest, in your best interest in mind. So
But the schools.
Yeah, it sounds like people are going to have to really just get educated with it, because you better start looking out for yourself is kind of what I hear. Because there's nobody that's going to go in and say, hey, this large corporation who's making billions and billions of dollars is serving kids crap that eventually they could get juvenile diabetes, etc. But nobody's jumping in and saying, hey, stop it. There's just too much money involved. So you have to get educated. You get educated, you stop eating those foods, and then they suffer. Then maybe that'll push them to put something healthier on the table. I don't know. But speaking of food, we got Veronica from El Barrio here, and she's been brought in from New York City. She's preparing a dish for us today, so I hope everybody's hungry. On this show, we always include somebody cooking, making arroz con pollo today. So we're going to be eating that soy. But talk a little bit about sugar as well. You guys were mentioning something about how sugar is the death. And they say, not to interrupt you, but they say that sugar in adults is like Alzheimer's, and sugar in children is autism. And what kind of truth can that be to it? Okay, tres platos, por favor.
We could talk about that also. There's words that the food industry uses that people think sound good, but they actually are giving us a message that isn't good. And so, you have to...
Like what? Give us an example.
Like enriched. Something that is
Okay, I got
enriched
you.
means... When I think of the word enriched, I'm like, woohoo, I'm ready
Yeah,
to
right,
go.
exactly.
Enriched.
Like bread.
Right.
It's a big thing with
Enriched
bread. It's
means
enriched.
processed. It's
Processed food.
And so, if you've ever watched any of the documentaries, I'm constantly watching documentaries, constantly reading, studies, in relation to this. And if you've ever taken the time, which people don't, and you start to see like what the food goes through, I want to call it food for purposes of this show.
Yeah.
And then we're putting it in our body. Like there are a percentage of plastics that are going through our body. Take cold cuts, for instance. You really
Oh
think
my
that
God.
that is
I don't
what
eat that
meat?
crap.
That is
No
like...
cold cuts.
Well, let me ask you.
Horse head.
Well, tell me what would be wrong with cold cuts?
And by the way...
High sodium? Look at this.
So take ham, right? Take ham, for instance.
Wow.
That looks delicious.
That looks great.
Thank you.
I'll do mine without the chicken.
Yeah, so she has a restaurant in New York City.
That's
She's definitely a little
delicious.
shy, but it was great to get her on the show here.
Thank you.
And
We could actually eat this.
necesita tres más platos, ¿ok? Para ellos.
Tres platos.
Sí, para ellos.
Wonderful. Thank you so
This is
much.
beautiful.
This is
Thank you.
delicious. Thank you. Grazie.
Beautiful.
So, if you...
Bon appetit.
Bon appetit.
Thank you.
Enjoy. But if you really, look at what food goes through, and take ham, for instance. Ham, they're taking all of the parts that would be thrown out from the pig's meat, right? And
Lips.
mashing it all together
So no prosciutto?
into what would be like a mousse, right? And processing it to form it into... do you really think that ham comes in that shape? And it looks like that? It doesn't.
You're talking about cold
I'm
cuts?
talking about cold cuts. But, even things that are not cold cuts, sugar, again, being an addictive thing. So in the food industry, of course, they want us to buy their foods. So, how do you get somebody addicted to your food? What are you going to put in it? Sugar. But you're going to hide the taste.
Legalized drugs, essentially,
Exactly.
right? If you're not getting hooked on the drugs, I mean, you could probably call sugar a drug. It's an addiction.
For the purposes of our health? I think so. And, you were talking about sugar and diseases. There are studies that show that sugar promotes the growth of cancer cells. So
Now, is that a true study, like from your research?
I know that there's a study out of Ohio State Hospital that was done about the keto diet and helping to, not have cancer cells grow. And so there is a correlation between, in rats, of course, being on
Those poor things get tested on all the time.
which is terrible.
Don't be a rat. You come back as a rat in your second life, boy, you really screwed up.
But there are studies, that it can help. Look, I told you before that I was the executive director of a health organization for years, and what I can say is that a person's health is reliant on holistic approaches as well as medical intervention. You never want to rely on one or the other completely, right? Because sometimes, unfortunately, we do get sick. And sometimes, things need to be fixed and it doesn't look.
El muchacho adentro.
It
Can
doesn't
you...
look perfect. But for patients that use complementary therapies, improve their nutrition, improve their diet, there are 100% studies out there that show that they improve the state of their disease, if not cease the state of their disease.
What if...
And I'm going with diabetes.
You're going with diabetes. Okay, so let's take something like cancer where people say, okay, can I make a difference not doing radiation? Can I change my diet? Because, a lot of people, they pick up on that. Look at the Gerson therapy. Have you heard of the Gerson therapy? It's like juicing, curing, stuff like that. Where does people throw the line between conventional medicine and holistic approaches?
I think it's a personal choice, and I'm going to speak, from my own personal experience. I happen to have had cancer. It was environmentally caused, but I did go down that journey. And what I can say, and for anybody that is familiar with cancer, it's not just, cancer, one word. There are multiple types of lymphoma, multiple types of lung cancer, multiple types of liver cancer. It's different, and every patient is different. So I think it's a personal choice that you make with your medical team. But what I want to say is that, as a patient, it's like showing up. Like if I want to run a marathon and I don't train for that marathon, I'm going to fail. But if I want to run a marathon and I train for that marathon, meaning I'm working out, I'm eating well, I'm staying fit, I have a better chance of doing well. And I think that's where it falls when we are talking about our health and disease.
Interesting.
Environment is a major cause of basically cancer. So environment is from the ground. Foods are from the ground. So we're in a catch-22 with big business. They want to produce it fast, make it taste good, and forget about the nutritional. That's why the mayor of New York City had come out with don't eat a Big Mac or a hamburger.
Yeah, I think it was something with soda.
Soda.
A certain size of soda.
So much.
Like that was really going
How
to...
stupid is that?
Give me a break.
15 ounces of Coke instead of 32?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, after this conversation, if that's the best they could have come up with, right? I mean, we're just basically telling you what sugar does to the body.
Yeah.
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 Well, I guess you could say, yeah, you cut down the soda. That was a good step. But I mean, it really goes deeper with these companies.
The lunch is in himself, like I said before.
Well, look, they have the shelf space.
Right.
These big companies, they have the marketing. How do you compete with that? They have the distribution.
You educate yourself, and you take
That's where
ownership
we're left
of your own
at.
body.
That's what we're left at.
Again, follow the money. You know, the soda companies are not going to want us to not buy their soda anymore, so they're going to do everything possible. You know, if you look at the government, you know, the truth of the matter is look at who they're subsidizing when it comes to the food industry. Okay, I don't concern myself with that. I try to buy locally grown. I freeze a lot of my vegetables so I can get through the winter.
Right.
I try to buy whole foods, and I try to prepare my foods as much as possible.
Do you leave out sugar? Do you leave out salt?
I do. So salt is not a bad thing, and that's another lie. But again, let me tell you something.
And we should talk about that because people are like, no salt, no salt, no salt. But your body needs
It's not a bad
salt.
thing.
But only
Our
in the
body
last
needs
couple
salt.
of
It
years.
needs salt and water. It needs salt. So, you know, but again, let's talk about salt. You know, that white table salt, that happens to be bleached. Okay? So, you know your products. Like
What color is salt? Pink?
pink.
It's pink.
So, right, exactly.
Yeah.
And the real salt that I buy, like, you know, to cook with is Redmond's. You know, it's the only
And it looks
salt-
red.
It's pinkish. And so, you
Or
know.
Himalayan salt? So you're saying is the
Himalayan salt's good
preferred
too.
salt? Is
Right.
that is
Right.
there one salt that's preferred over the other?
Iodized.
I mean, I am not a, you know, expert on salt. And I'm not sitting here as an expert on salt, but what I would say is, you know, anything that takes you away from something that is in its natural state, you know, is something that you probably want to stay away from. Because, you know, if I'm going to eat, let's say, a carrot, I want it to be a real carrot. Or, you know, a potato.
What about a French fry without salt?
I can eat a French fry with salt, you know, but is that a real potato?
Right.
And I don't want to talk about
I
some
don't
of the,
even know if
you
McDonald's food is real. Or fast food places are real.
Have you ever seen, again, you know, studies? I don't want to like start bashing each
Why not?
individual, but
Bash them.
like take a peek. So go on, you know, watch what happens to the onions. You know, I don't know what they are, but they add water to it, and then it turns into like these chopped onions, and it's like, whoa, what was that before?
Really?
Yes. You know, where are all
Is that video out there on YouTube?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. There's a lot.
Sam,
of
can we
videos.
pull up that video? Try to find that video of that onion thing. Who did that? That was like a fast food place?
Fast food. I think it's McDonald's onions.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
They sure don't taste like these fresh onions right now.
Exactly.
She's not pouring nothing over them.
And you know, it's good for us to eat the rainbow. You know, to enjoy the rainbow, and there's enough nutrition in all of these things. And I don't want to, you know, go against the meat industry either.
What about the water industry with 50,000 different bottles of water?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Most of them grab from the tap. I mean, we could do a full show on that. That's just a big scam.
Yeah.
That's a big
big
scam.
Yes, it is.
I mean, and then now people paying $2 and $3 for a water. You might as well have filled it up in your toilet bowl.
I have a spring upstate where I have a place, and the spring water actually tastes like a meal. From the
Really?
spring.
I don't know. I thought I told them to make it for everybody. I mean, everybody heard me. They heard me out there.
You did.
No,
You did your
the
job.
water I have upstate in Margaretville is unbelievable.
Is that by Saratoga? So Saratoga, there's a spring there.
No.
People go and they fill the water.
Not by Saratoga.
It's not.
By Woodstock,
Oh, Woodstock.
Phoenicia, Fleischmann's, Roscoe.
Let's go. Yeah.
But
Roscoe
the water is the biggest scam, I think, on this planet. 50 different. Go to a supermarket. You have to have 25 different bottles of water to buy.
Yeah, not to mention that they're sitting in plastic, probably in a heated truck before they went to the
Exactly.
destination. So now you have all the leakage from the actual plastic, the contaminants in there. I mean, how many times do you pick up a bottle of water and it tastes like plastic?
Right.
I was safer drinking from the garden hose when I was a kid. You get that plastic taste, safer for you than what's in here. You take that case of water, throw it 50 feet, it's not breaking. Glass would.
Right.
There are still some high quality glass waters in there. You know, you got Voss, you got
Voss, yeah.
Pana, you got Pellegrino.
Right.
You know, that's Pellegrino I think is
Saratoga
sparkling, but
has a water
yeah.
in the glass, the blue glass.
Or
Yeah.
go to a Price Club or a Sam's Club, and cases of water in plastic. Where's the plastic go?
All right, so look, you're obviously the expert here. So somebody coming and saying that, I want to change my life. Well, you've lived it, right? So it's always good doing things when people have lived it, right? I was 400 pounds, but now I'm 200. You know what I mean? So somebody listening to this podcast and they're saying to themselves, I want to transform my body. What's the first thing I do? Do I leave out sugar? Do I leave out gluten? Is a plant-based diet right for me? Should I start taking a whole bunch of these pills and not know what they do? Because that's a big thing too. Oh, well, I heard you need vitamin C. I heard you need selenium. I know, and it starts going down the line. But in novice terms, somebody just saying, I'm waking up tomorrow and I'm going to take control of my life. What do you give them? What kind of direction?
So, keep it simple, right? Because we don't want to get complicated, otherwise people will fail. So, number one, you need to assess where you're at with your health, okay? You mentioned the word gluten. People have allergies to food all day long. So get yourself a good medical doctor that can assess where your health is at. That's a starting point, okay?
What does that mean, like a blood test or?
It means a good physical checkup from, a really good GP. Yes, a whole, blood workup. If you need to go to an allergist also to see where you're at with that, et cetera, et cetera. Because, we want to work with the facts. We don't want to work with, what I think and what I don't think. Because to your point, there's a lot of schools of thought out there. Mm-hmm. The next thing is, when you get assessed that way, take a look at what you're doing. If you want to, people say keep a food diary. I'm never great about that. I'm more about, okay, what can I see in front of me? Go into your cupboard. Go into your refrigerator. Get rid of all of the foods that have all of those, ingredients in them that you don't even know what they mean. Get yourself educated. And step by step. Like I said before, I've been on every single diet along the way. My progression to plant-based is something that works for me. I'm not here to promote one or the other. I'm here to promote the fact that I feel great and healthy.
But obviously,
you look great.
Thank you.
You look great.
Thank you so much.
But there's obviously benefits for leading a plant-based diet as opposed to a protein or say meat protein.
100%. You and I are on the same page with that. But I know that there are people with different schools of thought. I know there are different studies out there because I've read them. I've watched the documentaries. But what I'm saying is if your blood pressure is high, there's something wrong. If you have type 2 diabetes, there's something wrong. If you're considered overweight or obese, there's something wrong. These are all manageable diseases that you can 100% fix. Get educated.
We could fix it with the school, educating them, educating more people about the products that are out there today. And that's why today you have all these companies that want to service you with food. Bring them to your house, all prepared foods. Those companies, believe it or not, are preparing nutritious dinners, nutritious breakfasts. And the mindset of people is convenience today because of the stresses of how much it costs to live today. They have to go to basically prepared foods.
Right, it's convenient.
Make it easier for the household.
Yeah, it's convenient. It's convenient to do. So it sounds like from this conversation that the world isn't going to save you. You're going to have to save yourself.
Absolutely.
So get educated. Any good books people can, have you read any good books on like healthy eating or anything? Or can they do most of their research on the internet?
Well, I heard about Eat This TV coming out with products.
Yeah, they got the recipe box here. So this can come directly to your door. Not only that, it's a different recipe box because this will give you a chance to film what you're cooking and then you upload it to Eat This TV.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so.
What I've been talking about.
Yeah. You get a good meal, you film it, you're a star. That's it. It keeps families together, I heard. No slaps.
No slaps.
That was a good one, Joe. You created that.
That last take, ooh.
Yeah, that was a good
All right.
one. That was good. Took one
But
for the
look
team.
at the realism.
Absolutely.
He shot that on film. That's realism. I like it
Exactly.
that way.
Yeah, that was funny.
All right, well, the best of both to you guys. Toast. There are no rules in cooking. Taste this. Thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.